could address.
All right, we'll leave it right there. White House correspondent Emerald Robinson joining us live. Emerald, thank you. Meanwhile, a 22-year veteran of the Washington State Patrol signed off from his final shift with some parting words for this man, Governor Jay Inslee. Trooper Robert LeMay out of the Washington State Police for refusing to comply with Inslee's vaccine mandate there. Robert joins us now. Robert LeMay, thank you so much for being here. Explain that to me. Your choice, you've served more than 2 decades, if I understand this correctly. This must have been a heavy decision for you.
It really was. I mean, we're giving up our livelihood. We're a single income family. It was a big decision, but it's something that we needed to do. And we believe it from a biblical standpoint, as well as just the tyranny. I mean, the things that are going on right now in this state and demands and telling us we shall do this, we shall do that. When you ask questions, and we're investigators, we get no answers. Just be quiet and do it.
Well, let me ask you about this, because many will pick this apart and say you are anti-vaxxer, whether you are or not. Is it more about the mandate, though, and the government getting in the private sector and in state, obviously, officials like yourself?
Very much so. I have lots of friends that have actually been vaccinated. Part of my decision too, in fact, my family's decision, is seeing what's happened to them. We've seen a lot of medical conditions evolve from these vaccines from friends. And, you know, every reporter I've talked to is going, well, what about this, about that? I can only tell you from what I've seen and going to the hospitals, talking to people, and it's just not worth the choice. I mean, his great example is the president you just had on there. I mean, please pray for him. That man he's in dire straits, but I believe he was actually vaccinated. So we can even argue that. Was he fine before he was vaccinated? I mean, there's so many different questions that are out there right now that we don't know. So why take that risk right now, at least in my family?
Well, you mentioned the president. Last night, he actually defended vaccines for first responders and police like yourself. Let me play that for you. I'll get your reaction. Here's that.
Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. I waited until July to talk about mandating because I tried everything else possible. The mandates are working.
You're a former first responder now. How does that sit with you?
It doesn't sit with me well. I mean, but there's a perfect example. I mean, if he's supposedly lucid enough to be president of the United States, then gets the vaccine, and we all have seen this. We've all seen how he's gone downhill. I mean, that's what I'm seeing with people of older ages. My own family members. I mean, I know people that have taken it that actually have been just like Joe Biden right now. My own father, you know, he has dementia. You know, I'm looking at other family members that have dementia. It's really sad, but when you start having the experts saying we've never seen this occur so rapidly in people that have actually had the vaccine, again, that makes you think this isn't right. And I don't believe that actually comes from his heart. I believe people are telling him to say that. If he truly, truly believed that, then, I mean, that's pretty disgusting. Were we back to being like China again? I mean, it's ridiculous. We just need to change this.
To one of your points, the president did say at one point he would never make it a federal mandate. Here we are today. Really quick, yes. 10 seconds from you. What's next for you? Or I know you said you're single income. What's next for you?
Well, we did some part-time jobs with some other law enforcement that have retired and started businesses, which has been great. We're just trying to see where God wants to place us right now is the big question. But it appears that I'm still in this fight. I've been doing interviews like every day, so which is very exhausting. So thank you for your time and being as gracious as you guys have. But it's wherever God wants to place us right now.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. Get some rest. Enjoy your weekend. Robert LeMay sharing his story live for us. Robert, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We do have an update to a story we first told you earlier in the show. Actor Alec Baldwin firing a prop gun on a movie set, killing one, injuring another. Now, investigators say it might not have been a prop at all, possibly live rounds. Alex Salvi has the details in the newsroom. Alex, what's the update?
Yeah, well, the Sheriff's Department in Santa Fe, New Mexico says that this is an open and an active investigation into this fatal incident. And as you said, we're getting new information this hour. In fact, a scene for the Western movie Rust was either being filmed or rehearsed when Baldwin discharged a prop gun that killed the movie's cinematographer and injured its director. But the Union for Theatrical Stage Members sending a letter to its members saying that the movie's prop master is not part of their organization and the gun fired by Baldwin contained a live round. Witnesses say that Baldwin was repeatedly telling those around him immediately after the shot, quote, "In all my years, I've never been handed a hot gun." Now, this incident is being compared to an event back in 1993 when the son of actor Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee, was shot and killed by a projectile from a prop gun while filming the movie The Crow. His family tweeting from his Twitter account saying, quote, "Our hearts go out to the family of Helena Hutchins and Joel Souza and all those involved in the incident on Rust. No one should ever be killed by a gun on a film set." Authorities are now going through interviews of people on the set on Thursday to get a better idea of how this tragic event could happen, as well as the chain of custody of that firearm, acknowledging the fact that there is now allegations that a live round was in the chamber. As of now, no charges have been filed in connection with that shooting.
I remember the one in 93. You thought this would never happen again. They have so many regulations in place, as the union will come out with more details about this. You can't get around 20 feet of the gun, in the type of magazine you can have there, and what you can't have. Yet this happened again in 2021. What a tragedy, and story continues to develop. Alex Salvi live in the newsroom. Alex, thank you.
Coming up, Texas bringing in the state's military to help secure the southern border. Reporter Jason Jones is going to join us live with an update from Austin right after this.
We need more than a fox to guard the liberal media. Turn to the smart, conservative news that you can trust. Newsmax. Real news for real people. Newsmax cuts through the noise to deliver the inside look and breaking stories you can trust. No bias, no BS. Unintimidated and unafraid. Every minute, every day. Don't get outfoxed. Get the facts. Newsmax. Real news for real people.
Attention! Do you have Medicare? Did you know you may qualify to get up to $148 added back to your Social Security check every month? It's easy to see if you're eligible. Just call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center at 800-871-5806. In addition to receiving $148 every month, you might also qualify for a $0 Medicare Advantage plan that includes the following benefits: dental, including fillings, exams, dentures; vision, including exams, frames, lenses, and even contacts; hearing, including hearing aids, batteries, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost. The Go Medicare Benefits Help Center is open now at 800-871-5806. Both the call and the consultation are 100% free with absolutely no obligation to enroll. Call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center now at 800-871-5806. That's 800-871-5806.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work.
The new MyPillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99, or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel sets, regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we created our Smart Seller System to sell your home for top dollar and save you thousands in commissions.
I was amazed in the fact that my house sold in one day. Ideal agents saved me in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 in commissions. The process was as easy as it gets. They are the #1 way to sell your house.
Our service is free, available nationwide, and there's zero obligation. Call us today or visit idealagent.com.
Welcome back. At the southern border in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott running Operation Lone Star, bringing in the Texas military. Let's go live now to Austin, Texas. Reporter Jason Jones standing by. Jason, what are your sources telling you about the situation south of the border?
Yeah, good morning. It's good to be with you. So one of the areas we really focus on is the Darien Gap and the number of people that cross through that area daily. Right now, we're averaging between 700 and 800 people. But from there, as people move further north, hitting Guatemala and the state or the country of Mexico, you really kind of get an accordion effect of people. I think there's this perception across the country that, people just group up in these large masses. That's not really how it works. And the countries of Guatemala and Mexico really work to try to break up these caravans or these large numbers. The place to watch right now, and I'll tell all Americans, is Tapachula, Mexico. That's in the state of Chiapas. That's where the Mexican National Guard really forms these really large lines and breaks up these groups. So you have about a 120-hour window when these groups move north through Tapachula before they start hitting the U.S.-Mexico border. And they break up and they'll make a left, basically, there, whether they're going to hit Arizona or West Texas or Southern Texas. So that's what we watch for, and that's what we're looking for right now. But the numbers are in the thousands. It's just going to depend on how they hit us, and we just don't know. No one knows right now.
Yeah, these groups making their way closer to the United States. If you could tell us about Operation Lone Star on our side of the border, what's the main goal there?
Sure. So Texas is conducting what is known as Operation Lone Star. We were embedded with the Texas Department of Public Safety for the last few weeks, trying to illuminate crimes against the state and how it's affecting the state of Texas, because I have to tell you, it's incredible the amount of crimes occurring down there. And let me just give you some quick stats real quick on this. They have made 7,744 criminal arrests, 6,339 felony charges. And this is in 7 months, by the way. This is separate from regular day-to-day, what we call steady state operations. 73,000 migrant apprehensions and 822 pursuits. And these pursuits really have to be a focus here, because you talk about not only loss of life from these things, but the amount of drugs that are being moved in some of these pursuits that they're seeing. They've knocked down 130 pounds of fentanyl. So, if you're sitting up north and you're thinking, well, why do I care about a pursuit in South Texas, and these horrible crashes that are taking place? It's because what gets through here affects all of America and every single state in this country.
Yeah, so true. All right, Jason Jones with that report for us in Austin. Jason, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for sharing those details. Take care. All right. Thank you very much. All right, for reaction, let's welcome in our panelists for the remainder of the hour. Pleased to be joined by Bobby Eberly, host of the 13-Minute News Hour. Jessie Jane Duff, former co-chair of Veterans for Trump, is also here with us, as well as Barry Farah, host of The Barry Farah Show. Panelists, welcome. Let's start with what we just heard from Jason's reporting there. Bobby, he's talking about how the fact that these drugs are making their way across the border through these cartels and then into the United States. Of course, this goes to the argument that every state is a border state. Your thoughts on what you just heard?
Well, it's interesting because what he's talking about is exactly what's happening. But every time former President Trump brought it up in the past, he was ridiculed. He was called a racist. He was called xenophobic. And here is what's going on with an open border, with just no checks in place at all. Policies like catch and release. We have the drugs coming in. We have the gangs coming in. We have the human trafficking. Real problems that need to be solved. And Joe Biden even admitted last night he doesn't have the border under control. He's doing nothing about it. And so we need Governor Abbott to step up. We need the United States to step up, because this has to be stopped. And it can only be stopped at the border.
Yeah. Again, Jason was talking about a group of 700 to 800 people making their way through the Darien Gap. This is an ongoing conversation. You have migrants making their way to the border. Here is a clip of the president during the town hall event last night on why he hasn't visited the border. Watch this.
Do you have plans to visit the southern border?
I've been there before, and I haven't. I mean, I know it well. I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down. I've been spending time going around looking at the $900 billion worth of damage done by hurricanes and floods and weather and traveling around the world.
We have not seen President Biden go to the border. We didn't see him as a senator either, or vice president. Jessie Jane, is now the time to book the flight to the border and see what's happening firsthand?
Oh, of course. And the time was probably about 5 or 6 months ago when we saw the record surges. We are well on track now to have over 2 million illegals cross this border. I mean, we already got to 1.5 million probably within the last 8-9 months. And when you look at this surge, and yet they are enforcing these vaccine mandates upon American citizens, but yet they're not enforcing anything with illegals. I just kind of think that this is a crisis that they are choosing to ignore for some type of ulterior motive. We know that there have been illegal children that have been coming over. We know that they've been people have been flown throughout the United States. Many communities are unaware that they now have illegals working in their own communities. This crisis now is something that is going to impact American jobs, people being paid at the table, our medical resources being exhausted, our school system being exhausted. At what point is the administration going to admit that they have failed on this? And the fact that they stopped building the border wall and are actually paying the contractors to not build the wall tells you that this is nefarious and diabolical and deliberate.
Yeah. Barry, during the town hall event, again, one question came up about the border from a woman who had described herself as a Republican. But speak to me broadly about the media, perhaps their lack of interest in some of these border-related stories. Again, you're hearing reports of flights flying early morning or midnight, however you want to classify it, of unaccompanied minors, children being separated from parents, arriving in the county suburbs of New York. Where is the national media and their attention to this?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, really, when you think it through. You got smugglers that are smuggling humans with really no regard to their safety. And we have a federal government that's complicit with it. There's really no policy in place to stop this from happening based on what they're currently doing. So they're importing COVID across the border. If you fly in commercial from Mexico from a vacation, you've got to either show that you've been tested negative for COVID or have the vaccine. But you can walk over, and this is in our embassy dialogue. This is in writing. If you walk over at the land border, there's no testing, there's no vaccine requirement there. So you got COVID spreading by these illegal immigrants, and these state troopers are complaining that things are at an all-time high with illegal immigration. And it doesn't seem like the media cares. And they didn't hardly communicate anything about this Philadelphia rape, which was by an illegal immigrant who had a previous drug conviction. They just don't seem to be paying attention.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities for follow-up questions by the moderator. It just didn't happen last night. Bobby Eberly, Jesse Jane Duff, Barry Farah, please stay with us. A lot more to cover this hour.
All right, meanwhile, as we've discussed here at Newsmax, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg spent more than $400 million during the 2020 election, much of it going to grants to government election offices, doing it through two nonprofits. Now, since the revelations about Zuckerbucks, are states doing anything to ensure that private money is not used to administer elections, provide a boost for one or another party? Host of America Right Now and a Wake Up America weekend, Tom Basile is here with this week's Election Integrity Report. Tom.
That's right, Sean. Zuckerberg and his wife dumped approximately $420 million into the 2020 election, much of it going through an organization called the Center for Tech and Civic Life, a supposed nonpartisan nonprofit group. But as you alluded to, it has been exposed that grant money for elections administration in some swing states was as much as 5 times more in Democrat-leaning areas to educate voters, as they say, and drive them out than it was in Republican districts. But here's the good news. There are a number of states who have taken action now to stop these Zuckerbucks from potentially influencing elections. And, the following states have taken action, and they're either banning them or they're severely limiting those. We can put those up there. Arizona, Florida, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, North Dakota, and Ohio. In Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, their new legislation gives the state government the control over it so that these organizations can't just spread their money around and go directly to county elections commissioners and county boards. There are others that states that legislatures have passed bills to limit this type of influence, but they didn't quite make it. And most notably, Wisconsin, where a state where a lot of this money actually went in 2020, Louisiana as well. They passed legislation, but it was vetoed by a Democrat governor, and there were a few other states where it died in process for one reason or another. But there are some states, Sean, where it is still being discussed exactly how to limit the influence of this type of influence. And if you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Those are states that are still considering this. You should note, though, that there are three of those states do have Democrat governors and who are likely to veto this legislation. So if people want to engage on this issue one way or another, these are the states where you could still have an impact to eliminate what is essentially an end run around campaign finance laws that is being exploited here.
All right, we'll continue to follow that. Tom Basile joining us live there with a weekly update. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, an Arizona man's heroic act is caught on camera. Details for you coming up next.